Valerie, how are you doing today?
I am doing really well. How are you doing, Dakota?
I'm doing okay. I had a bit of an interesting thing happen to me this morning. So I was just sitting here doing my work and I get a phone call and I pick up the phone call and it's just like one of those duct cleaning services or whatever.
Oh
But
yeah,
I answer the
yeah,
phone like Dakota Pitt speaking, how can I help you? Like my professional way. And they go,
yes.
hello, ma'am. Called me ma'am after hearing my voice. And I was like, hello, and then continued to call me ma'am throughout our whole, like, 30-second conversation, and I was like, "There's
No.
no way."
Can I put like a funny story in there about kind of like this?
Yes.
I one time called Travis's visa company pretending to be him because I needed to make some changes, and she bought it, but she called me ma'am the whole time.
Oh my gosh, can you tell me the voice that you use? Can you use the voice, please?
I like channel my inner Travis. Is it, there's some fraudulent charges on my visa, and I'm gonna need a new card. By the end, she's like, "Okay, ma'am," and I was like, "I we're doing this transaction, but okay,
Tell me
let's
you
do
still committed to the character, you still use the voice even after she said ma'am?
it." I did drop out of character. I was like, "Can't change now. Can't stop.
Oh,
Won't stop."
I love the commitment, that is hilarious. I wish I did something like that, but my normal voice apparently just sounds like a ma'am, so what
See,
can you do?
but mine I think sounds like a man.
I hope listeners think that I'm the woman and you're the man.
That would be
That
absolutely
would be fun.
incredible. I'm Valentino and you're Dakota, which can go.
It's either way. Yeah, unisex.
Hmm,
You know what? All
I'll
right, what
take
did you
it.
think of our first episode now that it's kind of been out for a couple days?
It felt good, and it felt like we're actually starting. It's kind of surreal that what we want to do is like put our message out to people that are in our positions or are in where we've been, and I don't know. It's cool. It's just it's a like it crosses my mind. I'll be driving. I'm like, oh yeah, we're actually doing this. So it's cool, and it makes me want to really reflect on my time as a business owner and start putting together ideas as to what I went through and what I was looking for.
Exactly. For me, it makes me think like, hey, this is my life. Like, this is what I'm doing. And I'm not just kind of sitting here doing nothing like maybe I have been in the past.
Yeah, like we're actually, I mean, we're taking action towards what we want to accomplish.
Right. And those are all the positive feelings, but let's get to those negative feelings. Did you have any like negative thoughts about it? Because I know I had a
Um,
few thoughts where I'm like, oh God, people are actually gonna hear me.
yeah. So, and I guess mine more so comes from like, we really have something to say, but then like my belief is so much stronger that like, yes, we do have something to say and that we
Exactly.
can, even if one person listens to us, we changed a life and we made the world a better
Exactly.
place. So
And even if one person, like I enjoy doing this with you, I enjoy talking about it, it inspires me, it helps my business. So
yeah, and I look forward to
mhm.
it. And I thank Owen, our producer, for helping us with it. Like I look forward to it. So
Shout
even if
out
it
to
just helps
Owen.
us, what's that?
Shout out to Owen, a
Yeah,
true
well,
gem.
shout out there.
All right, I thought we'd start off with a little bit of positivity this week and just talk about a win that we had this week.
Ooh,
Do you want me to go first?
yeah, you go
While you
first.
think about it for a second, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I got a buyer lead from someone at my brokerage. So basically, they were just like, "Hey, this person is looking at buying a house. Do you wanna give them a call and see if you can help them out?" It was kinda near Norwich. It was in Brownsville, so they kinda sent it to me because I
Mm,
sort of know the area, but Brownsville, I'm sorry, I've
yes.
never been. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
great. I've just never been.
I think I picked up ducks there one time. Yeah.
Ooh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. I feel like it's a really small town. It was for a horse farm, so I'm assuming it's a very, like, Norwich country type town.
Okay, nay.
Anyways, so I give them a call, and I'm speaking with the lady, and she is suddenly just very upset, and we got to talking, and so she has owned, this property, this 12-acre horse farm, and she keeps getting calls from people who are trying to buy, but she has owned the property for a decade and is not looking to sell. So she was just like, "I don't know what's happening, but people keep calling me, like, I don't wanna sell my property. They keep telling me that it's listed somewhere for way below value," and she was very upset about it, and I was like, "Oh my, that's horrible." Like, imagine getting calls every day. Like, she said she got 5 or
Oh
6
my
a
god.
day of people trying to be like, "Hey, let me buy your property," because it's valued, like, way
So
below its
so someone has fraudulently posted this though?
Yeah, so, basically, instead of just being like, "Oh, well, like, sorry about that, have a great day," I did a little research and I found the listing, that was fraudulently posted, and it was on some weird website that I'd never heard of. So I gave her a call back and was basically like, "Hey, here's this listing. There's not much that we can do about it because it's not through our brokerage. It's not through any brokerage, really. It's just kind of posted there. But now she's going to the police with it and is going to hopefully get it taken down." So that was kind of made me
Yeah.
feel good. I was like, "Woo!"
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's not, but like she'll remember you as like someone that went out of your way to be like, okay, here's where it is. I found it. I guess she could report it and stuff too, right? Because especially depending on her age or just like availability and like technology um advancement, that might
Yes.
like that could have taken her hours and then more frustration as more calls came
Sh
in.
Exactly. She had tried, she couldn't find it. She wasn't very
Yeah.
technologically inept, so inept, is that the word?
Yeah. I think that's the one we
Yeah,
want. That's a total win. Heck
yeah,
yes.
so that made me feel good. I was like, "Yeah, I did something today, I helped her." So that was my win of the week.
I love it. Okay, so I thought of my win. I had a client text me last week, and they were one of my first life insurance clients. They were a young couple, and they have two kids, and they had no mortgage because they rented, but they wanted to make sure that if one of them died, the other one could like raise the kids and put them in the like well funeral and all that stuff without being stressed financially. So
Right,
we met 2 or 3 times, yeah, 3 times to like educate on what life insurance is, what the different types are, and then to understand more about what they wanted, and then you make the match, right? Well, this makes sense with your situation, and they want to look at starting to save for retirement. And they're like, "You were so great the last time. You taught us. You really took your time." They're like, "We want to talk about this." And they're both going back to school to Mohawk for social service work. And they're like, after our exams, so come December, they're like, "Let's talk." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I would love."
nice.
So clients that want to learn, like ideal clients, like cute young family, like the kids are awesome, and they want to make a better future for themselves. So I'm like, yes,
And you
absolutely.
did that,
What's that?
and you did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
it was a
awesome.
cool feeling to kind of like be in the business. It's probably been 2 years since we put their policies in place and they still thought of me, which was very cool.
How long have you been doing this for exactly?
Independently, 2 years in October. So 2 years in a month. Yeah. It
That's
doesn't feel
crazy.
like it,
Time
but
flies, yeah.
I feel like I have been quietly owning my own business because I've been doing a lot of personal growth. So it's kind of funny and weird, but I'm starting to step into my own and step into like my true being, and it feels pretty cool.
Come on, personal
So,
growth, look at you go.
yeah,
Nice. That's a great win. That was a good week.
that
I like
was a
that.
good week.
Speaking of wins, the new network, we have an event coming up soon. It's probably what, 2 weeks away now, December 2nd?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know we
2 weeks
talked about
away.
it a little bit on the last episode, but just as a reminder, we're basically going around to some local businesses around where we live, where we grew up, and basically showcasing these businesses. We're just going to talk to the owners, talk to employees, or whoever
Yeah,
wants to on our live, and just kind of get to know people a little bit better. And while doing so, we're also going to be asking for donations for a women's shelter. So I'm very excited for
yes.
that.
I'm super excited, and I think even if we did like a TikTok for each business, and the the purpose of it is community give back, but also like if we don't support these local businesses don't survive. Walmart will always survive. Costco will always survive. The local mom and pop shop or these businesses don't survive without local business. So,
Especially these days, especially with COVID.
right, right. So to be able to, whether it's a non-perishable or a gift card or a supply from their store that they're donating to this to, and I can't say it quite right. Can you say in Ingamo Home?
I think
Okay,
it's
good.
Ingamo, yeah,
Neither of us can.
Ingamo Homes.
Ingamo Homes. So to give to these women and their children for Christmas, like the trade-off is huge because we're going to come in and just remind people of what's just down the road from them. That yeah, Amazon might be convenient, but if we don't keep this alive, like this is community.
And it really is a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm super excited about that too. I'm also excited about the Christmas cards we talked about doing. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah,
We're gonna do an
yes,
event,
we need to talk to some teachers.
yes, about doing Christmas cards for seniors that are in homes that maybe can't get visitors right now, because of COVID. So
Yeah,
I'm very excited to bring a little Christmas cheer to them as well. I love Christmas.
yeah. And I think like the reality is that there's also people in homes that don't get cards, and that's kind of sad to think, but it's a very true thing. So if their one card is from, like, if they get one card, that's gold.
Exactly. That's just
So
Christmas cheer. That's bringing their Christmas. Yeah. And if anyone
yes.
wants to follow along with these events or anything that we're doing, all of our socials should be down here somewhere. Give us a follow, give us a few likes. And yeah, it's just going to be a lot of positivity, a lot of community engagement, and a lot of fun things. And we both have two dogs that are all super cute, and they are going to be all
Yeah.
over social media. So check those out.
Hashtag for Friday. Here we come. That's
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that's tomorrow. Okay, this week
Mhm.
I thought we would talk about building a reputation, and
Yes.
how to do that and how to maintain that reputation, specifically
Cool.
for new entrepreneurs, because I know that's a big thing for people in our businesses.
Yes. Yes. And I think when it comes to building a reputation, like I think reputation has a different meaning as you get older and as generations change. Like reputation for our parents is very different than what reputation is for us now versus when like even when we were in high school or even when we were in college or university. Like being a business owner, it's like your business is your rep, like you are your reputation, you are your brand. Because
Exactly.
a lot of people can sell life insurance, a lot of people can do mortgages, a lot of people can sell homes, but why people want to work with you, that's your reputation or your branding. Like it's the way that you make people feel. It's the intangible assets that are like you can't buy them, you can't teach them. It's just who you are and how you decide to show up for people and your clients.
Exactly, and I love that, like, building yourself. But one thing that I know that I've personally struggled with, and I think a lot of people have struggled with, is how do you get yourself out there? How do you build that knowledge and that reputation of
Yeah,
yourself? Because you could be the best salesperson, you could be the coolest person,
right.
y everyone wants to hang out with you, but how do you get people to come to you? And I know
And
when I speak to older agents or more experienced agents in my field, a lot of people are like, well, you just have to tell people, you have to talk to people, you have to tell them about your sales, tell them about your success stories. But for me, starting out in this business, I don't have sales, I don't have success stories in real estate. So, how do I build myself?
right. And I don't think, and that's where I think there's like a bit of a mind shift too, is that like the older generations, they wanted to look professional, put together, and perfect. But I want to see like raw and ugly and real because that is life. Like I think so social media is also really good because we can now start to show that side. But I think part of what holds us back is like, oh my gosh, I'm putting my true self out there. What are people gonna think? But there's like two different sides of my mind that goes back and forth. The other side is like, but imagine how I can help people if I tell them that like this happens to me to like, and it doesn't even have to be to do with my business. It might have to do with the fact that I need a personal day because I feel like crying, like those different things. Like I need a break, I need space. So I went on a little bit of a tangent,
I loved
but
it. Also, personal days, I don't care who you are, take a personal day when you need it. Everyone needs
yeah,
personal days. I remember in high
Yeah. So
school always taking personal days and always getting flack from it from everyone, like, "Why weren't you at school?" I was like, "Well, I wouldn't have been very
took a
fun.
day.
I wouldn't have learned anything. I just needed that moment to myself."
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think older generations are very, like, anti I think they're coming around, but I think society has told us as a society
Yeah.
that personal days and taking time for yourself really isn't as important as getting out there working, being
Being a
professional.
functioning part of society. But the other side of that too is they also work themselves to either exhaustion, burnout, or be miserable. Like they work the 9 to 5, but the 5 to 9 they're miserable and complaining about the 9 to 5, or they're like physically worked like got carpal tunnel or like different things that have come from like hairdressers, right? Like you work so much. And I'm not saying that you don't need to pay the bills, but there's got to be balance because that's not, in my opinion, living.
I completely agree. And I think when they're working themselves not to death, but to death, they're also presenting
Mhm.
themselves as someone who is not who they truly are. Um,
Right. Yeah.
Especially in like
Because
corporate America.
yes, because like then when you do show up for your kid's birthday or you do show up for your friends for drinks, like you're not there because your cup is so low. And I think when you said work yourself to death, what came up for me was like work yourself to disease. You see people work so hard, but the body is not at ease. So like stress manifests into cancer, stress manifests into different physical ailments because you haven't listened to yourself enough. So your body's gotta be like, all right, we gotta halt the whole production because you haven't been listening to me. I need rest.
Right. So let's say that someone is starting out in
Mhm.
whatever business, real estate, financial, anything that you are
Like,
your business,
yeah, opening their
anything.
own salon.
Exactly, opening a
Mhm.
business, doing an online business. I know we have a couple people from high school who do nails or makeup
Yeah.
or lashes or stuff, anything like that. What would you say to someone about starting out in regards to their reputation?
Mhm. I would say because it's kind of humbling and anyone or not anyone, but there's a lot of people that do what you do. So don't have any bars on who you are because that's why people will come to you. Like don't hold back on who you are because that is why people will come to you.
Exactly,
That would be like my first advice to them. Yeah.
and use yourself in your branding because if you're branding, and you're trying to paint a perfect picture of yourself and
Mhm.
you're doing all this, it's not you. People are gonna see right through it.
No, and like whether you have kids or no kids, or you like to travel, or you love to stay at home on the weekends, or you're like bookworm, like use just I think there's a part of us that thinks that social media is supposed to be like a lens that we look at the perfect pieces of life, but like use it to really be your stage of all the pieces of life because that is how you build that brand. Like people want to feel like they know you before they even actually ever talk to you or come to you for a service. Like put it out there. And I'm preaching also for myself because it's terrifying to put it out
Same.
there.
Yes, it is.
Freaking
I'm always like,
terrifying.
"Oh, maybe I should hop on a live right now and talk about my day, tell people what happened. I had this really funny
Yeah,
thing happen to me, why not?" But then I'm like, people are gonna then know what happened, they're gonna judge me, they're gonna be like, "Ooh."
right. But then your like ego comes in and it's like, no, stay small, stay safe, don't grow. But at that friction point where there's fear and excitement, and that is where we grow. Like that is where we either step up or we step back in.
Right.
And I mean,
And
like nine out of 10 times I step back in.
same, but I don't want to.
Right. Because I'm like, I don't want to stay like this forever. Like, I want to get out of that cocoon at some point.
Exactly. We hate the
Yeah,
cocoon almost as
I'm
much
not
as we
afraid of
love the
that.
quarries.
I love the quarries. Always love the quarries. If you're listening to this and you're near Innerkip, Ontario, go to the quarries. We love it
In the
there.
summer.
Yes.
Not very fun in the winter, you can't really swim.
Yeah, can you imagine? I wonder if they skate though.
Maybe.
On puck at the quarries.
Exactly. Also, with putting yourself out there and trying not to paint that picture perfect and being genuine, we're
Yeah.
not perfect, so we're gonna make mistakes, and I think that it's very easy for your reputation to take a bit of a hit or do something that might not be considered perfect?
Yeah, I think that
For example, like, let's say I'm showing a house
yeah,
and I show up and, you know what, I've had a rough week. I haven't been as productive as I should be, and I'm maybe not as prepared. And that obviously looks bad on me for that client. What, how do I react to that? How do I
yes,
rebuild my
okay.
reputation?
I see what you're saying. And I think that's where if it's not an action that's consistent, and you have to give yourself some grace and give yourself some forgiveness. Like I look back at some of the investment recommendations I made for clients when I was first starting out, and they weren't unsuitable in a bad way, but they were unsuitable because they could have been doing better. So then I go back and I don't go back with like my tail between my legs. I go back and I'm like, hey, I've learned more. I'm not like, I'm better than I was. I'm not my best, but I'm better. And I want to make a different recommendation. Let's meet. Let's make these changes that are better for you. And I think that clients will understand that you're growing too. And no one comes out with the best answer, and everyone has days where they're late or they drop the ball or they forget something. Like life happens. Give yourself some grace and don't beat yourself up so much that it takes your energy and it doesn't make you want to do it again. So you're like, oh my gosh, what if I'm late again? What if I forget that again? Like don't.
Exactly. And I
It
love what you said
happens.
about grace because whenever I do something like this, I just put myself in the other person's shoe, and they're human too. They
Yeah.
understand. They're not going to be, you're obviously supposed to be the most knowledgeable about what you're sharing with them, but that doesn't mean you know every
Yes.
single thing always 24/7.
No. And I think like that's where you want to be mindful of what you like. There's a fine line between grace and then like crappy habits, like with things like being late or moving meetings. You don't want to always have that, but if you like, people understand it.
People are living
Give yourself a break.
the same life as you type thing. Like everyone has the same experiences. No one's perfect. And you have to kind of let
Yeah.
like forgive yourself is important in this situation because
Yes. Yeah.
if I'm late to a meeting and then that's kind of ruining my whole day, and then I'm not as present in the
Right.
rest of my meetings or I'm not as productive in the rest of my day, then I've just let that one mistake snowball effect into a bunch of mistakes.
Right. You let one drop mess up the whole ocean.
So what do you do? How do you kind of combat that? I love that, by the way.
Anytime. Um, for me, it's like even if say I'm running late or I yeah, okay, let's go with that. I'm running late to a meeting. I'm so like voice note on my phone. I might voice note the client. I stopped making white lie excuses because I used to do that. I would just be like, look, my printer is not working. Darn technology, like being honest about it. Um, or and then also like say I get to the client's house or I get to the coffee shop. I don't grab all my stuff and rush in. I'm like, okay, take 60 more seconds because what is 60 seconds going to do? Take some breaths and go in there as your best self because that's what that client deserves is you like showing up and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm sorry. They'll make a joke about you being late and be like humbled with that. Be like, yeah, no, like I don't mean to disrespect your time. I apologize. There's no excuse, but this is what happened. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I think you've got to be honest. Like even tonight, I was supposed to have a client to do a life insurance application, and I forgot I have to go down to LinkedIn and I emailed her. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I totally forgot this. Does it work to do at 6:30 or does Monday night work better?" She's like, "Monday night." I'm like, "Perfect." Like give yourself some grace and just be honest because I think when you start telling white lies, like, oh, I wasn't feeling well, then you get yourself into trouble because then you're like, well, I don't want to post on social media because I told this client I couldn't meet, but I really just needed a personal day. So it becomes this vicious
Oh my
cycle.
gosh. Hashtag relatable. That was, yeah. I used to do that all the time. And I still actually kind of sometimes find myself doing it where I'm like,
Yeah.
you know
Right. You're
what?
like, what kind of excuse can I use? When really you should just say, and I did it the other week. It was great. I said, look, I have too many meetings this week and I'm not going to be able to give you the focus that you deserve. Let's move it to next week. And people appreciate that because I would rather a quality over a quantity meeting because if you want to like if we it would be like me needing to go through a look through a house with you and I'm not in it, and then I'd be like, hey, can we go back through that house? No. Quality, people. Take time for
Exactly.
yourself. Take care of yourself before you go trying to take care of anyone else.
It's just that open communication. And I know that's sometimes a little daunting because you're like, oh, if I tell them that I'm too busy or that I made a mistake, well, then they're going to not want to work with me. They're not going to want to go to this meeting.
Mhm.
They're just going to cancel. But if you put yourself in their shoes and they're expecting, for example, let's say a house walkthrough and I can't make it because for whatever reason, instead of saying, like, "Hey, I'm sick," or whatever, and I call them and I'm like, "Hey, something's come up. I have another meeting that's urgent," or "I forgot," or whatever. Just be honest, open communication.
Yeah.
They're gonna appreciate that 10 times more, and I know that because I would appreciate that 10 times more.
Yes. Yes. And I think part of the fear comes from like, oh my gosh, I can't lose this client. But even if they're like, well, whatever, like if say they don't believe in personal days and they go find another realtor, then like let it go. That's okay. They weren't meant to be your client anyways.
Exactly.
It's good it came out now versus halfway through the transaction.
Exactly. And that relationship probably wouldn't have been as successful as you thought it would be or hoped it would be if you're not on the same page.
And you would have expended a lot more emotional energy maintaining that relationship than you will with a client that gets you.
Exactly. I think it's so, so, so important not to take yourself, your business, and your life too seriously.
Yeah. And to remember that like you're human and to like let it out. And I don't mean like someone was saying this. They're like, don't tell us about your wounds. Tell us once they've healed. So you see like people would take like Facebook rants and stuff like that. So like from that I take maybe I'm having a bad day today, but today I don't want to go on Instagram and do a live of me crying. I mean, I could also me being very raw,
Yeah,
but like tomorrow morning I might want to be like make a post about like, hey, I took yesterday and I walked my dogs and I made tea and I cleaned my house. And that's exactly what I needed to show up as bright, brilliant, beautiful me today.
exactly. But
So
then,
like share it once it's healed, I guess.
right, exactly. Forget what I was going off, but yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Okay. Um, so in summary, reputation,
Yeah.
basically what we're saying is be honest, be open
And be
communication,
honest.
stop those white
Yeah.
lies, and just present
Yeah.
yourself as you,
Yeah.
not of the
And
perfect
I
person.
think part of right. Be imperfect and do it scared because we weren't born with a microphone in our hands or an iPhone to take a selfie. So to display our lives in any way other than like someone following you with a camera, which would also feel very weird, but to be the one that's broadcasting our lives, like we're our own little production crew on the life of Val and get behind it. Like show up, show you. That is how you're
Exactly. That's how you build a business is just being yourself. That's our main
yeah.
takeaway, I think, from this episode.
Yeah, it's truly being yourself, the good, the bad, the imperfect, the ugly, all of it.
And don't expect things to just everyone just to love you immediately either because you can put yourself
No, but right. And you don't want everyone to love you because you can't please everyone. Like you want your people to find you and be like, "Ooh, I like them. I love them. I want to work with them. That's my people." Like if I'm going through a house with anyone, it's gonna be him. If I'm gonna get a mortgage with anyone, it's gonna be her because we get each other and we're alike. So it's yes, be your true self because if you go out there being someone fake, you're going to attract people that you're like, oh man, I don't even like working with them. Well, that's because you weren't you when you went out there.
exactly. And I know it's daunting for especially new business owners like myself. I'm like, "Oh, I just want any client
Yes.
I can get because
Mhm.
I need my business to grow. I need it to be successful."
Right.
But that's when I find my transactions don't go as smoothly or they aren't successful because I'm putting myself and my time into people who maybe aren't as interested in me or my business as I would like them to be, or we just don't connect. We don't have that connection, so it's not going to work.
Right. Yes, exactly. And that's where you will get so much more value, and that client will get so much more value when you're like when you're aligned with them, your values and your and just connection.
Exactly, connection. So if you're a new business owner or a new entrepreneur, trust yourself, put yourself out there, be yourself, be honest, open communication. You got
Yeah.
this.
And
We
connect with
started this
us.
for
Like
a
we want
reason.
to hear your stories too.
Yeah, and we'll definitely help you too any way we can. We love advertising.
Yeah.
We'll use your services, especially. Reach out.
Yeah. Like I want to see the next generation of business owners and entrepreneurs like rock it and be them full selves and just so
It's
much good.
our world.
Okay.
Let's do what we
Yes.
want with it.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Come on, entrepreneurs. All right. I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover. It might have been a little bit messy, but I think we got the point across.
Yeah. I
And I
think that's the best part of it is that it is messy
yeah, I
and
think that
this is us.
exactly. All right. So I just wanted to thank everyone for listening today and listening to the last episode. If you haven't listened to the last episode, go check it out. Again, it was probably a little messy, but it's fun to listen to. We're just going to talk about life and have a good time doing it. I
Yeah.
also wanted to thank Owen Panton, the gem of this all. He's the only reason this is happening. He's figured out
Seriously.
how to get us going and putting us up here. So
Yes.
thank you, Owen. You are a legend.
Yes.
And
And
then
check us out tomorrow for Fur Friday. Hashtag Fur Friday with our dogs.
yes, yes, it's going to be featuring one of our dogs. It's a surprise which one, but it might
Yeah.
be the cutest one.
Fine.
There's no cutest one. They're all cute. And then, okay, so going forward, Val, I wanted to end our podcast with a funny saying, like a consistent saying, but I wanted us to like talk about this on the podcast and like for next episode, come up with it.
keep it keep it real
Keep
estate.
it
No, I'm just kidding.
real. I feel like we're gonna try a bunch, but eventually we'll get one.
Yeah. Ooh.
We'll come up with it for next episode.
I've got some good ones coming through though. Signing
Okay.
off, Nanny and Pop.
Signing off, Nanny and Poppy. All right, that's it. Love
That's
you,
the one.
kids.